Right gang, so welcome to the first training video in this series. I'm gonna do one a month, at least one a month. This video, before I get into that, we're gonna be going through like my training, my plans and goals for this year, personal, all of that stuff. There's gonna be like quite a lot within this video that hopefully you can start to pick out yourself. Over this course of January, I'm going to be releasing the complete guide to glutes, basically how to grow your glutes. I'm gonna be releasing a free ebook and a YouTube series on that. Next month in February is a complete guide to fat loss. And in March, depending on how all of that goes, we are probably going to be uploading a lot more training exercise videos in March time is the plan. The main reason for this is just to go over what I'm doing training wise. So I haven't trained, actually, I trained the past 2 days, but I didn't train from the 24th. And the first time I trained was yesterday, which was the 2nd. It was about 7 or 8 days of not training. First time I've probably gone a week without training since I had COVID, which was last January. So hopefully we don't get COVID in this January, but we'll see what happens. I guess not training and not really worrying about my diet and kind of taking a little break from work has made me quite excited to get back to it all, and to kind of get on top of it again and start like really chasing down these goals that I set. Now, if you're feeling rather shit after Christmas, this could be because of the amount of food you've ate. Now, I'm sitting around 95 kg. I've basically been bulking since August and trying to put on somewhere between 1 to 2% of my body weight. On the heavier end, it's 1.8 kg. On the lighter end, it's about 0.9 kg per month. So I've actually put on more than one thing too during that time. I'm sitting right now between 94 and 95 kg. The reason I'm not necessarily worried, I didn't train the whole of the Christmas break, and I probably ate far more off plan than I've ever done, like in a normal working week. So the reason I'm not too bothered, movement was way down. Diet, there was no plan around my diet over the Christmas period, and I wasn't training. So all of those three things are going to be coming back on board like this week. So for me, I'm not too bothered. And for yourself, if you're feeling rather rubbish about binging and drinking too much over the Christmas period, it's not too bad if you have a plan going forward of what you're going to do. So my goals for this year, the performance goals that I want to back squat 200 kg, I want to deadlift 220 kg again, and I want to bench 140 kg. I was planning on the 22nd of November that week to actually test where everything was. The Sunday before that, I did an air squat and I blew my back out. I guess it's a New Year's resolution is to be more mobile and to kind of put some more effort into recovery. To do an air squat, so a bodyweight squat, because I wasn't thinking about it, I didn't respect the exercise as such, I just kind of sat down into it and everything was, that's probably the most pain I've ever been in. I actually drove home and had to kind of crawl out of my car. The phase of training I'm in, so I'll quickly go through this. I'm in a high rep phase of training right now. I'm still not squatting because of my back injury. And I mean, my back injury is pretty much like, it feels like it's gone, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's gone. It just means I'm not in pain. And that's something you need to realize is when you are recovering from an injury, just because you're not in pain doesn't mean you're necessarily recovered. There's still extra work to do. Like, just because my back feels fine, I don't stop doing my mobility work. I still have to continue to do that. And just because I'm feeling great doesn't mean I can go straight into back squatting. I have a plan to come out of it. I won't be back squatting until I think March, because I'm going to be front squatting in February. And this month I am basically using machines like a hack squat and a leg press. And doing overhead squats in there as well. But yeah, I'm in a higher rep phase, a lot of machine work, a lot of isolation work. I've gone through like lower rep phase and a kind of moderate reps, somewhere between like the 8 to 12 like hypertrophy rep range as such. And now I'm somewhere between, it literally fluctuates from 6 all the way to 20 reps. So that's the gap I'm in at the moment, which is really fun. Plan is to try not to put on too much more weight now on the lead up to around March time. But at the same time saying that, if you're trying to put on muscle and you are too afraid to put on body fat, that could be the thing that's detrimental to you and your progress on putting on muscle. Yes, you want to make sure your protein's high, but you also want to be in a surplus. Like, if you have a lot of food around you and you are consuming a lot of food and you're lifting heavy weights, you're sending a very good signal to your body that you need to kind of gain muscle, because you need to be able to do this. a lot more. And muscle's very expensive. So if it doesn't have the resources to build the muscle, then it probably won't do that. Now, part of the reason I think being in a surplus is so good for when you're trying to put on weight is not only because you need it, I guess, build the actual tissue, is purely because you can fuel your workouts a little bit better. If you're timing your carbs properly, you're timing your caffeine properly, somewhere between 1 to 2 hours before you train. I actually like mine a little bit closer because I end up flagging towards the end of a workout. So I find that if I have my carbs somewhere around 45 minutes or half an hour before I train, come in the end of a workout, I'm still actually feeling all right. And everyone's kind of different to that. That may, again, just be psychological, but that seems to be what works for me. But somewhere between 1 to 2 hours before you train, you want to start kind of consuming some carbs, maybe some protein in there as well, just before you train on any time really, even if you're trying to lose weight. If your goals quickly is to lose body fat or lose weight, again, so you know, in February I have a free guide coming out and I will be doing a step-by-step same thing basically as that guide, just as a video series on YouTube. If you are trying to do that, or you're looking at this January period and going, what do I do with my goals? I thought I'd give you a little kind of insight on what I think most people get wrong. So most people, when dealing with goal settings, focus too much on what they want to achieve and not the things that are going to get them there. I had a conversation with a guy today at the gym. He has a trampolining competition. I think it's his first one coming up at some point this year. He has the same mentality as me, as maybe some of you, which is, I want to go into this competition and win. And mind you, it's his first competition. I think I'd have that same thoughts if I went and did any type of competition. It's like, I want to win this. It's just a competitive thing that I guess a lot of people, or some people have, some people don't. And one of our other coaches was basically saying, think about it like this. You haven't actually done a competition yet. You don't want to go into this competition and think like, I really want to win, and then come out disappointed when you don't. When the likelihood of you winning on your first competition, very, very unlikely. Doesn't mean it can't happen. What I suggested was that you focus on the thing and you focus on controlling the thing that is most likely to make you fail. So when it comes to trampolining, for example, because he's never competed before, if you've never competed or you have competed, even still, that can be quite nerve-wracking. So if you can't deal with the stress of the competition day, well, that should be the focus, in my opinion, on what you need to focus on. Rather than the goal being, I want to win this competition, which is the goal. The goal is to win. If you can't control the nerves and the stress, then you have no chance of winning. So your best bet is to focus on controlling the stress. You know the routine, so you're going to be able to go and do the routine. It's just that stress element. Okay, so my goal coming into this competition is dealing with stress, finding ways on the lead up to this competition. How do I manage my stress? How do I manage my nerves? And you learn all of that during this first competition, which means even if you come away not winning, you actually set yourself up to the next kind of competition and you don't leave that feeling like you haven't achieved anything. You actually have achieved quite a lot because you have gone into a competition and you have realized it's very much harder than I thought. I get nervous way more than I thought, and these coping mechanisms which I come up with before don't actually work. The whole kind of point is, if you are setting yourself goals and you have this goal, say to build muscle or to lose weight or to completely change your life when it comes to health and fitness, you can do that. You just have to find the best way to do that. And the best way is not focusing on wanting to lose weight and all of these things. The best way to do it is for you to go, I want to lose body fat. What are the things that's going to stop me from doing that? Could it be social situations? Could it be the fact that I don't know how to cook healthy? Like, well, you have some things there to focus on. Okay, so on social situations, I do X, Y, and Z. I make sure on the run up to a social situation, I have protein for my main meals throughout the day. And then when it comes to going out on this social occasion, I can relax a little bit, or I choose a better option off of the menu. Or if it is this thing you don't know how to cook, I buy a couple of cookbooks and I make sure that my goal is each week I try and cook 1 or 2 new meals that I've never done before. There are some easier goals. Rather than just having this big thing looming over your head, you've broke it down so it's easier for you to focus on, right, actually the way I'm going to get there is by doing smaller goals. And it just means that you actually achieve something and you're on your way to achieving this goal, but it's not all focused on this end result. It's actually more on the process of getting there, because that's a lot of the time the best thing and the bigger thing when it comes to these type of goals. So your best bet, if you are setting goals, is think, what is the end result? And then do basically the steps that's going to get you there. What are the things that are going to help you achieve that goal? And what are the things that are going to kind of hinder you achieving that goal? And then you start to work backwards again and you go, okay, so if this is the thing that's going to hinder my goal, or if this is the thing that's going to help me achieve my goal, eating healthier and having a little bit more self-control in social events, how do I make it so these things fit into my lifestyle? I'm very busy, so I can't cook every night extremely healthy. Well, maybe I could do 1 or 2 nights a week. Okay, if I can do 1 or 2 nights a week, I'd rather find something which is really helpful, so I'll buy a cookbook. So on those 1 or 2 times a week, goal is now, well, I just make sure I cook a new meal once a week, or I eat something healthy once a week, or I have protein every meal, or I have veg. Like these, the kind of simpler things. And same with the social stuff. Like, don't focus on the end goal too much, or at least if you have an end goal, work backwards on what's going to help you achieve it. Obviously, hack the body, hack the mind. There is a mind part of it which I really want to get a hold of, and I really want to start to explore and provide a service to help other people. What I am doing in February, I start my counselling course. So I'm going literally start from the bottom, a level 2 college course when it comes to counselling, and I'm really quite excited for that because I think that will be the step in the right direction for where I want my business to go. I really do like training more than anything. For me, the reason I tried to link the two is I think there's a massive carryover. I think training gives a lot of people without purpose a purpose. If you struggle to actually have anything, or you feel like your life's not going anywhere, I mean, like, I deal with that very often myself, where you kind of question, what am I doing? Is it all worth it? I feel lost. I don't really know where I'm going. I just feel I have nothing going on in my life. Like, training gives you a lot of purpose. I know it sounds funny, but like, if you have an hour of a day where you focus on self-improvement, that will bleed over into other aspects of your life. And then you start to improve other aspects. Your goal doesn't necessarily, and like, this is the thing that I struggle with myself, is like, I want to be really good at something. Like, I want to be really great. Like, especially when it comes to this health and fitness stuff, like, the goal doesn't necessarily have to be this grand, huge thing. And you don't necessarily have to achieve something amazing. Like, that 14 Peaks documentary was just incredible. What the guy kind of dedicated and achieved was just insane and very inspirational. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that for all of us. It could just be as simple as cultivating and exploring the relationships that you currently have. It could be with mastering your own mind and not like letting pressures from other people and stresses of day-to-day life overtake your brain. Like, your goal literally could be to get a 200 kg back squat. Training kind of bleeds over into other aspects of your life, and it does start to give you this ability to have these goals. Your goals, like, they can literally be anything, especially when it comes around your mental health and around this feeling of, I don't feel like I've got anything. And that's why I think training is so important, is because you can set yourself training goals, but you can also set yourself goals on like your mental health wise. And that's why I'm excited to kind of start the counselling course. I think that will be the biggest thing this year for me, education wise and business wise, to kind of push on with that. Like I said, at the moment, I think I'm struggling with the amount of pressure I kind of put on myself. And that's the thing that I guess relates to the goal settings again, is this, yeah, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself to achieve these goals this year. And I do it all the time, but it's what is the detriment of having these pressures? And that's why I'm always like, you should have a plan. Always have a plan on what to do and how to get there. When it comes to like my business goals, that's why I've created a content plan. That's why I've created a business goals for this year, is purely so that when I come to achieving them, I don't overload myself, and they're very realistic. And that's the thing you need to make sure you do when you set yourself goals, is basically make everything realistic. I guess mental health wise for myself, I deal with a lot of self-doubt, and I think dealing with self-doubt can be very difficult to stay on top of, because you question whether it is self-doubt, whether it's a genuine fear, whether you're just making it up, or whether you're just having a bad day. It could be any of these things. It doesn't necessarily mean that the self-doubt is a legit feeling, but then at the same time, we can sometimes mask that self-doubt and call it something else. So for me, I think I've dealt with a lot of self-doubt, especially in December, I think, because everything was winding down. I knew I had to plan for this next year, and it's just the start of a new year can be very daunting for a lot of people. Self-doubt I've had to deal with in certain ways, and I think setting myself personal goals, like around reading and this whole counselling course for the business stuff, I basically look at where my self-doubt comes from and what I can do to mitigate that. Like, why do I have self-doubt? And if it's, I just don't feel like, I said the other day to my partner, like, I feel like I'm almost faking it till I make it. I feel like I don't actually know enough. But if I look back over this past like year and since I started, the amount that I've learned from the very start and the amount that I actually know is a lot. And I've helped like loads and loads of people kind of, I guess, get on a better journey and enjoy the process of training and get towards their goals, which has been very rewarding. But I suppose the difficulty is, and we all deal with this, is where we comparison, and comparison is the thief of joy. But when you're comparing yourself to people which you shouldn't be comparing yourself to, for me, for example, people with PhDs, people with like master's degrees, I'm not exactly good, and people with just years of experience, I'm not going to know everything in my like first or second year as they've learned in 10 years. But the good thing I do have is standing on the shoulders of giants. They have put this work in, and I can just learn off of them. So for me, it puts me in a very good stead for the future. But dealing with that self-doubt, I guess, probably works out about 45 minutes before I go to bed. I go upstairs, I meditate, then put this Lumi light on, and I put it on the sunset mode for half an hour. Basically, it gets darker and darker and darker, and I read during that time to go to bed. And that normally sets me off pretty good. That has been really good on helping me deal with like my stresses and mental health, because meditation just makes me present and aware, and it calms me down. It gets me out of my head a little bit, or at least it allows me to view my thoughts without concentrating on them and just seeing them kind of come in and out of my brain and let them go, which has been really quite good. That is a recap. Sorry it took so long, but that is a recap of everything to do with me training wise. My name's Charlie. This has been another episode of Hack the Body, Hack the Mind, and we will see you on the next one.